Good afternoon. Today is July 3rd, 2020. I'm Brian Budd and I'm here giving it to you straight today. On this day, or tomorrow, 244 years ago, the United States declared their independence from the great naval power of Great Britain. And if that same spirit comes alive today in our country, we're being shut down by coronavirus, with mask wearing, with arguments over black and white, the rioting, the looting, the stealing, and the real rioting and looting and stealing that's going on by the banks and by the wealthiest people in this country that own almost all the wealth. Today's message isn't a message of happiness or reassurance, but it is a message and it is a warning. I want to talk about something today that goes to the heart of the matter, deeper than Black Lives Matter, deeper than COVID-19, deeper than the issues that we're facing today, the economy, the wage and pay gap between the wealthy and the regular people. I want to talk to you about one fundamental thing that we're missing in our life right now, is the faith that we can always overcome, that we can have a better future. We can work towards a better tomorrow. We can make things happen. Right now, if you look at the news media, you look all around you, all you see is negativity, all you see is strife and stagnation and drift. You don't like it. And neither do I. Now, these problems didn't come across us overnight. They've been with us for more than a few generations. Ever since they passed the Civil Rights Act in 1964, the gender gap, or not the gender gap, the wage gap between black and whites have gotten more wide. And the reason being is because they've taken the man out of the family. In the 1920s, African Americans were actually more wealthy on average than their Caucasian counterparts. People like Booker T. Washington that owned their own businesses. Blacks actually did that. Blacks actually owned their own land prior to the Civil Rights Movement. But what people will tell you now is that we didn't own anything until after Barack Obama became president. And Black Lives Matter, which is run by a bunch of black lesbians that are not about Black Lives Matter. They're about a Marxist ideology to overthrow this country in tangent with the Chinese government, funneling money offshore from Governor Newsom and the Capitol for automatic weapons to be used. This is what's going on. It has nothing to do with race. We're America. Yeah, we've made our mistakes. We've done some terrible things. Smallpox on people with blankets who are Indians would try to do the Trail of Tears. Slavery, which we ended. We are an imperfect country. But compared to any other country on the face of this earth, we had 3% of the world's population with half the world's wealth. Why was that? Very simply, because we were a country that had a separation of powers where the individual could get wealthy. We had a legislative, we had a judicial, we had an executive branch that kept everybody in check. But who's checking the checkers? Who's checking Amazon? Who's checking Netflix? Who's checking Twitter? Nobody. A lot of the politicians are in the pocket of these big tech platforms. Their ultimate goal is to censor the United States, the real United States that they know and love. They want to do it from within. But I've been digressing about that. African American men, the illegitimacy now is risen to pandemic levels. 86% of African Americans, men, African American families are now growing up with a child that's illegitimate or single family home. Whites are just not too far behind at 64%. That's the real issue. They want a world where they have the community raise up the actual child. And all you see is, hey, are you 3 years old? Do you feel like a girl today? Well, you were a boy. Well, you're a girl today. Totally falls in the face of common sense. Anybody with half a brain cell knows that. Anybody who sits there and says that, well, if you don't like, if you stand for the past, then you're a racist. You know what that is?
That was bullshit.
You got it. That's what it is. Total bullshit. After the Civil Rights Act, we have turned this country into something awful to get the dad out of the family, because the man is the God on earth. Now, a lot of feminists are going to sit there and yell at me, but just bear with me. Even though it's a very weak representation, the man, God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, woman over children. That's the order. Before 1964, you had that order, for the most part. Yeah, you had your vagrants, you had your drifters, just like any society, but it wasn't mainstream. Now, it is mainstream. When you break that order, regardless if you're a feminist, if you're gay, straight, lesbian, or whatever, if you break that order, chaos will ensue. Same thing happened in Venezuela. Same thing happened in Brazil. Same thing happened in Argentina. 100 years ago, it was the old saying, you could be rich as an Argentine. Same thing happened. They said it couldn't happen there. And we're the United States, God golly. It could never happen here. Well, it's happening. And if we don't stand up to it and tell the truth in love and don't resent, we're going to end up like South Africa and the apartheid. And we're going to end up like so other countries that do struggle sessions, just like in the communist Chinese, Mao, that use struggle sessions to shame and defame people that went against their values, to even kill them. Next step is concentration camps or re-education camps. And if you're not re-educated, they'll just exterminate you. That's the future in this country if we do not stand up as Americans, white, black, Hispanic, Chinese, Asian, Italian, whoever you want to call it. That's the end result. So let's talk about COVID-19. So COVID-19 is real, okay? It is a weaponized cold virus, in my opinion, from the research I've done. It's highly, highly contagious. It has a very big gain of function. It is a man-made bioweapon. And it does have gain of function action, and this thing spreads like wildfire. However, the death rate in May was 7% for everybody who was tested with a COVID positive. Now it's 1%. So we're getting close to herd immunity, in my opinion, which is a good thing, meaning that the deaths are down. On June 28th, the daily deaths were only 285, almost 15-fold down from the peak on April 23rd at 2,714. So that's a good thing, you would think. The cases are going up because we're doing more testing. The cases are going up also because certain states are reporting cases of probable cases, especially in this one Texas article, where they go ahead and sit there and say in the meetings during the health department, where we have one probable case, and whoever's on their contact tracing, whoever they came in contact to in the last 14 days, they count them as a probable case too. So one case that's positive, anybody who was around them in the last 14 days, they consider a positive. So it could be 5, it could be 10, it could be 100. But on the average, it's one case that's probable for every 17 cases that are around them. So they count that as 18 COVID cases. Creating fear and pandemonium and panic, and people are all going to die, and if we don't wear masks, basically all the time while we're driving, which you're not supposed to wear them all the time. It actually increases carbon dioxide too much to where you get CO2 poisonous, carbon dioxide poisoning. And there was actually an article where there was a man that actually died or not died, but he actually crashed into a telephone pole or a tree because he wore it for 7 hours. You're not supposed to do that. But people are such in fear because all they do is watch the news. Here's a suggestion. Turn off the TV. Stop watching the news. Get yourself prepared. Prepare yourself with gold and silver, storable food, water filtration. Learn how to dig a latrine. Learn how to kill your own buck. Learn how to make your own colloidal silver out of silver coins. Yeah, people laugh at that, but that's very resourceful. Because you don't know what's coming. Heck, I don't know. I mean, the Chinese can have EMP weapons, and they can just fry the whole system, kill 90% of us in 1 year without damaging the soil with a nuclear bomb that would take 300 years to use the soil again. And let's go to the economy. Donald Trump, I would say that when he sat there and said, we got 5 million jobs, the biggest job increase in the history of jobs, the economy is recorded. Let me tell you, it's coming back. It's gonna be great. We're gonna make America great again. Let me tell you what that is.
Bullshit detected. Take precautions.
You got it. That's bullshit. Reason being is because these are people that are already laid off. They're getting back to work from the furlough. They're going to be laid off again because of the increase in COVID cases that are going over that. So basically, Texas, Florida, you're already seeing bars close again. Same thing in some other states. You're seeing that as well. Arizona is another one that's having those issues. So you're seeing those cases increase as well. So you're going to see more unemployment. 1.45 million unemployment claims now filed in the last week. 682,000 at its peak in May of 1982. We are still almost over 300% of that, and it's now July 1st or 2nd or 3rd. Today's the 3rd. So it's been 4 months, and they said that we would be down to about 50,000 unemployed per week by this time. So they're wrong. So my message to Donald Trump is that you will lose this election, no doubt about it, unless you do 3 things. Number 1, you level with the people and you tell them, look, I made a mistake for shutting everything down. I was wrong. I shouldn't have listened to Dr. Slouchy and Dr. Scarf. I should have just said, okay, let's have some selective quarantining. Let's improve the nutritional status of our Americans. We'll give a tax break to nutrition companies or people that are chiropractics to help with stress and help increase the immune system and create social distancing for a period of time. But, you know, if you don't want to go out, don't go out. But we'll give you 12 weeks if you do have a COVID case, and then we'll give you an extra 12 weeks of PTO with your employer. We'll go ahead and, basically we should have done that, where we would just subsidize the employer for that amount. That would have been the easy way to handle it. COVID would have been over with. Number 2, you have to sit there and say, look, the economy right now is going to be tough. It's going to take a long time to come back from. What we're going to do right now is just try to get things back open as quickly as possible. Let's do that. And 3rd, justice. You need to go after the people that are ruining the monuments. You have to go after the people that are, destroying this country. And the thing is that he's not doing that. He's having Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, run his re-election campaign. Have somebody that is good with re-elections that do that. If he doesn't do those 3 things, he will lose pretty handily, even though he's running against a hologram. So Donald Trump is losing to a hologram right now, and his name is Joe Biden. Joe Biden recently said that 120 million people died from COVID. So that's, either way, we're screwed. That's just the focus on that. So it's time for white people to stand up. And I'm not talking being racist or anything like that. I'm talking about telling the truth. Don't be ashamed of your heritage. Don't be ashamed of who you are. Love who you are. The problem with this country, there's too much white guilt for no reason whatsoever. When somebody says you're racist, look, no, this is wrong. The reason why you're like this is because the family was broken up. And you're mad at your mom or you're mad at somebody, you hold that resentment in. That's why. It's a lack of moral character is the reason why you're the reason you are. If more whites would stand up and say the truth and love, instead of hiding behind and protecting their stuff, then we would actually get somewhere. Instead of fighting with each other while the elite laugh at us with a breakaway civilization with life extension technology that'll make us live to be 5 to 1,000 years old, they're going to go ahead and just let us kill each other over race. And Black Lives Matter is all it is, a terrorist group. It is the arm of the Antifa group. It is founded by two black lesbians who, Catrice Cullors basically said, the founder of the group, that they are trained in Marxist ideology. They want to get all the they want to get all the Jesus statues down next. And I just unbelievable. I can't believe I'm hearing that from somebody. And, you know, this woman needs to repent. This woman needs to really take a look and think what she's going to do. And most Christians will let her do it. Most pastors will, because they're neutered. They're not real pastors. I'll get into that in a minute. But it all comes down to the family. The family is a stopgap between a tyrannical government and this new future where Bill Gates controls your life through tracking apps. How do you stop it? Well, there's a couple things you can do. Number one, 4th of July is a celebration of the United States of America. Celebrate that with love and honor for your country, for all that we've gained. We've become spoiled and rotten like little children, but we are still the country on a shining hill. The family is the only thing that can stop this. It's the family. If you break apart the family, you break apart the country. As Adolf Hitler once said, first the men go, the women and children will follow. If we had a families out there, and we had pastors that weren't tied to their 501c3 corporations that now make them a little more than corporations. Pastors are afraid of losing their 401ks instead of losing their soul. And the sad part is most of them will lose their soul, but they'll have a 401k that won't be worth the paper it's printed on once the inflation hits. Pastors need to stand up. The pastors are the shepherds of the flock that need to stand up as well, and they're not. And that's been done by design. It's been done by the 501c3 Act of 1954, which is the Johnson Amendment. This is the same one that Johnson said. You can look at their public recordings on PBS or Library of Congress, where he said, I'll get them N-words voting Democrat for the next 100 years when I pass this. You got to take the slaughter out. You got to take the hog out to slaughter before you get to take that cattle out to whatever it goes. However he said, you can look it up. But the end game result is ending the family, ending God in this country. If pastors don't stand up and are neutered, then it's time for Americans and real Christians to actually stand up and defend ourselves. Because without United States, the world would fall into 1,000 years of darkness. I'm Brian Budd, and this has been the Eclectic News Network. Happy 4th of July.